Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. The Vikings ended the madness yesterday so that March Madness could start today.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. 126 teams will lose in the next month. It's a hater's paradise.
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with the Wide Left Substack. I'm going to be pronouncing it Gonzaga the whole tournament.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. For my bracket's sake, I hope Clemson and Alabama are basketball schools now.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
And welcome in. Happy Thursday, and welcome to the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first watch or listen today. And for your second one, as always, check out Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings. Get our audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. That is producing great daily Vikings content. Let me take that graphic down. On today's show, the Vikings are done with Aaron Rodgers. They're not done with Jeffrey Okudah or Rondale Moore. They brought them in, adding to the roster, filling that out. They introduced 3 of their defensive signees in free agency yesterday. And, of course, March Madness begins. I've got a little FanDuel contest for us regarding the brackets. Today's show, it's a great day because today's show is brought to you by our favorite Game Time.
Game time!
Game time.
Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right. Big news yesterday morning.
Game time.
Yeah. First of all, we needed to make room for that. Second, do you think the chat knew that was going to be our first sponsor? Because they've been game timing the whole chat. That's crazy.
No, absolutely not. They do that every day. Every time we do this.
Single best ad buy, I think, in Locked On history.
The most organic. Get your money's worth
they gotta
out
know.
of this. Yeah.
Kale Chips, what are the odds Luke's computer crashes again? Well, there are 2 Lukes on the show, so that's the odds are better.
the odds are
Everybody
pretty high.
knows.
Yeah.
Any followers or listeners of the show, they know. And minus 500, I would say.
Let me check
Minus
FanDuel.
500.
By the way, I typed out a text to you guys last, what was that, Monday, I guess, when my computer died with 5 minutes left, and
Please
I
tell
didn't
me the
send it.
text
So I'm
crashed
sending
your
it
phone.
right
Okay.
now. I'm sending it right now. Please read it. I'm sending it right now because it never got sent. And, okay.
We ended the show without you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Missed
Sam
those
makes
last-
me click on a digital grenade called Spot Track mid-show, knowing full well my computer would blow up.
So if you remember, that last, we hit about the 50-minute mark, and Sam goes, "Oh, click on Spot Rack," and that was my demise. That was my demise, right?
So now the list is now Spot Track,
Our lads,
Our Lads,
Spot Rack.
NFL Reference, Stat Head, Pro Football Focus.
Hold on.
Napster.
How does Pro Football Reference crash? That's like the least.
It's like Web 1
Football
there.
Reference
Yeah.
is decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Football Reference. I can hang a little bit on Football
I
Reference.
can hang
Yeah.
a little bit.
Over,
I can
under,
scroll for a
2.5.
little bit on
Yeah.
PFR.
Yeah.
Stat Head is
Yeah.
one that
I can go to game logs. I can get one click in. I can go to game logs.
You can get a game log, but you can't scroll down to the play-by-play. That's too much.
Oh
No,
God, yeah.
no,
And
no.
the Play Finder tool. That come on.
Color wheel.
Yeah,
of
oh,
death.
no.
Instant color wheel of death.
Yeah,
Yep.
just all passes in the last 25 years. Okay. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye bye. It was fun. We had fun.
the leaks were abundant yesterday morning. Tom Pelissero, Kevin Seifert, Diana Rossini, they all told a little bit of a different story depending on who was giving them the information or what camp they were speaking with. But the Vikings, for now, is the big asterisk, are done with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And we can't put this we cannot kill this. We can't end its life.
Well, you
until
can. You're a click
Rodgers
demon. Of course you can.
signs with someone else, or the Vikings sign a backup quarterback. But it seems like J.J. McCarthy's been given the keys to the castle, or at least, as some are making it seem, it's like a tryout this offseason. How's J.J. look? How are his knees going to hold up?
He's
How's
competing
he
with
put
the
on enough
specter
weight?
of Aaron Rodgers.
Right, yeah, competing with the shadow of quarterback past and future.
Yeah,
how is
Sam
that-
Oh
Darnold
no, he's
sucked.
competing against Mr. Hypothetical. He's doomed.
Yeah, he's gone. Mr.
Sam
Hypothetical,
Darnold's-
otherwise known as everyone's backup. Yeah.
Darnold
Yeah,
saw
right.
ghosts. Darnold saw ghosts. Okay, JJ, he sees shadows.
He's a shadow.
He feels
Yeah.
ghosts.
He does.
Sam, you say tryout. I don't know how that's different from most players' seasons most years. That feels like a normal season.
Well, if the knee isn't perfect, Arif, could they circle
Yeah.
back to Aaron Rodgers? Rodgers is going to be patient. Apparently,
That's-
he's not in
Is
any
he?
hurry. He might retire.
He is not.
He's
Nobody
threatening
who's in a
retirement.
hurry to sign with the Giants.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is, quote, not in a hurry so much as no one is putting time pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Because the choices are with the Steelers and the Giants. Yeah, of course he's taking his time. He's
He's waiting for Trent Green to go down. Okay, for
yeah,
the Rams
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you
back
go.
in
He's
'99.
waiting for the universe to return to him an injured quarterback.
All
which I
part of
think
the
is how that
plan.
works. Yeah.
He meditated on this for a long time.
Right,
He
yeah.
knows what
No,
Yeah.
he saw it in an ayahuasca vision that
Yeah.
a quarterback was going to go down, and he was like, a quarterback injury. The universe is so kind to me.
To me, Aaron
It,
Rodgers.
it will be wild when the first quarterback injury does occur and that team signs Jameis Winston instead. Like Aaron's just been waiting
Oh, yeah.
for this moment, and they signed Winston, they signed Flacco, they signed Drew
Yeah,
Lock first.
Oh,
we
yeah.
need fewer off the field problems, so we're going to sign Jameis Winston. Aaron Rodgers, you're way too much of a distraction, man.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah,
gonna
that's genuinely true. Jameis Winston, less of a distraction. Don't Google it. Don't make a judgment
Google
about that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you just move on. Yeah.
He's a prayerful man. Now, Inman, what is the version of events that you believe? Like we've heard that the Vikings seriously considered this, and we're hearing that it's not over yet. They're hitting the pause button here on talking about Aaron Rodgers. What do you believe has actually happened, and what is happening right now with these discussions?
It's tough to know. Obviously, we're not inside the building. We're not talking to these people. But, I mean, at the end of the day, there's one constant since they drafted J.J. McCarthy that is he's going to be the future. And obviously, last year didn't go as planned. This is a longer path to the field, obviously. But it just never really made a ton of sense, especially during the free agency wave, the way they spent all that money as well, trying to build this 2, 3, 4-year window with JJ on that rookie deal. It never really made sense to take out a second year of JJ's rookie deal and not let him get on the field so you can see what you got. So even going back to last year, the limited small sample we got of JJ, it was rave reviews. Yeah, they talked more about Sam Darnold, obviously, getting the reins first and foremost back in training camp. But when JJ was out there and reporters asked, whether it's Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, even teammates, everybody had rave reviews. So obviously they love the kid enough to not only move up, but into the top 10 to draft this guy. Highest quarterback the Vikings have ever drafted in history. So I feel like the one constant here is knowing that JJ's the future, and it just never really, I think, made sense. You had to take all those reports, which there was really, if you look at the 50 different reporters, there was really only a handful of people reporting that this could be a possibility. So you got to always, I mean, I personally, I was taking that with a grain of salt, but it just feels like JJ was always going to be the guy one way or another, and maybe it was just happening a little bit longer than maybe original, like people planned, when he was originally drafted at 10 overall.
Right. I think the Vikings could have kiboshed this much sooner if it
Definitely.
was nothing. If it was nothing, they could have kiboshed.
They
it
thought
sooner.
about
Well,
it.
that was the big hang up.
so
Like,
that's-
why aren't they
yeah.
kiboshing it? That was the big hang
Right.
up. Like,
Yeah, they gave it a. It's Aaron Rodgers calls and says, "Hey, I would love to play for Minnesota." You go, "Okay, we're not really thinking that way.
yeah.
Give me a few days to mull it over." They mull it
Yeah.
over. They say no. What's the problem?
Precisely. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what happened. And like when you look at the wording of the reports, because I believe both Diana Rossini and Kevin Seifert reported this independently, that inside the building, right, they had talks about considering it, right? Like it was very, it was
But of course, like you have talks about everything.
Right, exactly. It's just like a due diligence thing. Like, oh, this is available. We should go over our.
We're going to talk about all options. How many times did GMs and coaches say that? All the time,
like,
of course.
So
NFL teams
they
will discuss every unthinkable idea that you can conjure in your mind. They will discuss trading Justin Jefferson for draft picks. They will discuss signing Aaron Rodgers. They will discuss trading their entire defense and tanking and blowing the thing up. They will discuss everything. They'll discuss, hey, can we put a trade package together for Josh Allen? Do you think we can swing that? They'll discuss every unthinkable thing that you can reach into the dark recesses of your mind and find. That doesn't mean that their mindset about the alternatives to those options is any different. That's I think the logical leap people are making is like, well, they considered it. They must hate JJ McCarthy. No,
every insane fan theory that you get in your replies, the Vikings have already discussed it. Now, maybe they haven't discussed it for more than 5 minutes, but certainly they've had this conversation. I was like on a radio show and they asked me like, hey, so, there were reports that teams were calling the Vikings about trading JJ McCarthy. Is that true? And it's like, well, I can't independently verify, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't. You just call. Like, you just make the call. See, I mean, some teams will only call if they're serious about it, but a lot of teams are calling just so they can know what the market is. Having a constantly updated Rolodex of prices is endlessly valuable to you as a team when you end up making a trade. And it's how trades like the Jimmy Garoppolo to San Francisco trade do end up happening. But for the most part, these are fact-finding missions, whether it's internally or externally. Yeah, the Vikings had that conversation because it's good to know what your options are. It's good to kind of flowchart through everything that you could or will do just to have an understanding of what the environment is. So yeah.
Like as context for other decisions.
Right.
What QB can the Vikings sign and keep the compensatory picks, asks Alvaro. In the spirit of this comp pick offseason where the Vikings are prioritizing
Cam
the
Robinson.
comp.
Let's go, baby.
Yep, Cam Robinson, baby.
Yeah,
I have an incredibly detailed answer to this.
So I'm gonna let Luke answer the actual question. But Cam Robinson cancels out the Ryan Kelly 5th, which activates the Daniel Jones 4th.
Let's go.
Or the Cam Bynum 4th, whatever. One of them.
One of them.
But yeah, you get a 3rd and a 4th now, so just don't screw this up.
Right.
Also, my 2 answers are Case Cookus and Teddy Bridgewater. Anyway, Luke.
Those are 2 answers. So the Daniel Jones comp pick right now, it's listed as a 4th. If Daniel Jones loses the battle to Anthony Richardson, which actually just talked to Jake Arthur on Locked On Colts, he expects Anthony Richardson to be like very much in the driver's seat on that battle for whatever it's worth, but we're rooting for Daniel Jones because if Daniel Jones wins, that stays a 4th. If he loses, he doesn't play any snaps. It might get downgraded to a 5th, but you would still get something, or it would be someone else's 5th or something like that.
Right, yeah.
For a backup quarterback, not to cancel that Daniel Jones pick out, you would have to sign them for under like $4 million. So I'm going to be honest, Case Cookus probably checks that box. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Teddy Bridgewater check that box as well. You could go down the list and decide, will that guy make over or under $4 million?
Teddy
if it's
has to
over,
coach
it'll
his
ruin the
team,
contract.
though, doesn't he? Isn't
he
Teddy
quit that.
like he's done?
One and done. Got the
One and done? Championship
my
and get out of there?
I
King.
could be wrong,
King.
but that was my understanding, is that he was just doing, and then he did that. And yeah, he turns a program around from like, I think they won like 3 games the previous year, wins the state championship the next year, and he's like, I'm good, man.
Hey, can you imagine those seniors of that senior class? Like, that's what we got to do.
Crazy,
That's what we got to experience.
I mean, he
last
could
year,
come
but-
back, of course, but
Yeah.
like,
What about the sophomores
get
on
the
the
itch.
JV team? They were like, oh, we get to be coached by Teddy Bridgewater, and he's gone.
that's the trick. They did get coached by Teddy Bridgewater. He coached all
So there are other things that you can do. You can sign somebody, a quarterback that was cut. I believe that Ryan Tannehill, for example, does not count toward the compensatory formula no matter how much money he is making. Or, this is my favorite idea, you can trade for somebody using a pick that is lower than the comp pick you think you're going to get from Daniel Jones. So if you can swing like a 2026 6th for somebody for their for some third string quarterback that's going to be your backup or whatever, that would preserve a higher comp pick. You get to basically upgrade that pick and get a backup quarterback for your troubles if you can find that situation. I don't know who that is. If it's like Aiden O'Connell or whatever, but those are the options, the ways to get a backup quarterback while preserving the Daniel Jones comp pick. The Sam Darnold comp pick isn't the one at issue yet. You'd have to sign 2 different guys to cancel that out, which I see as unlikely at this point.
So just real quick, just to clarify, going back to the Daniel Jones, it just feels inevitable that Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are going to end up like splitting. At least a handful of games. Does it come down to games started, snaps played?
Listen,
what can I write down to pay attention to in that Daniel Jones quarterback kind of controversy, I guess?
So my guess is Anthony Richardson will get the first team reps to start, but with a short leash. We'll see how camp goes. So obviously look to see if that
they want him to be the guy. Yeah,
of course, they really want him to be the successful guy, because if he flames out, a lot of jobs are suddenly really shaky. Mm-hmm. But obviously with Anthony Richardson too, health is not a thing. Like that is not a confident thing. So
not a pillar of health. No.
Yep.
Yeah. So Daniel Jones could get in that way. I think he has to play like a lot of the snaps for the comp pick to upgrade. So he has to like probably win the job, or you'd have to see like an early, like a season ender from Anthony Richardson. Then he plays 10 games, that kind of thing. So that's what we're looking for. But talking to Jake Arthur,
Luke, is that you're telling Vikings fans to cheer for an injury. Got it. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Whoa. No comment.
So you're kind of kiboshing in this discussion. You're kiboshing the idea of a Flacco, of a Winston, maybe of a Wentz, maybe of a Drew Lock, because again, they would count in that.
Of these guys you could
maybe
sign after June 1st.
Yeah, that's the other way. Is if you sign him after June 1st, it's okay. Flacco, very famously, not a great mentor for young quarterbacks. Doesn't like to do that and has actively refused twice.
Also, Drew Lock could teach J.J. McCarthy the lyrics to all of his favorite songs.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But maybe
don't do that on TikTok.
Maybe that is kind of the A topic you're saying. Maybe they're just waiting. I mean, there was not saying this is going to happen, but like Kirk Cousins, who's the other big name quarterback. Maybe they're just waiting, though, is my point. Maybe they low key, and we brought this up before. Maybe they'd like Brett Rypien. And they're just not worried about. And they know after June 1st there's going to be maybe another option or two, and they're just waiting this out a little bit. Yeah. I don't think this was ever their plan A. I still think plan A was definitely keeping Daniel Jones in the building. But clearly they already had a plan B and plan C ready to roll, and maybe this is what that one of those plans looks like. So maybe they're just not worried right now.
People are chirping in the chat. Joe Milton is on the block. Luke Inman, are you selling the farm?
There's your 7-6 swap trade target. Yeah,
there you go.
What is that? But aren't we looking for a vet? That technically
it doesn't really. You might as well just draft a quarterback then,
right? Yeah.
No, I mean you might just be able to wait till he gets cut, because he's a Tennessee Volunteer. That's not a serious player.
An offensive Tennessee Volunteer, I think.
An offensive, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think signing Josh Johnson for the bit would be good. I like that. Josh Johnson getting to add another jersey to his collection. I'd like to be a part of that history. Why not?
Playing for McCown, who also competing with him for the most jerseys in his basement.
Right, yeah. But yeah, what better mentor than a guy who's been on like 20 teams and 16 offenses?
What moving company do you use? Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Oh, wow. That's good.
What about Mike White? $1.1 million cap hit. Is under contract with Buffalo.
I'm not going to trade for a guy. What are you talking about?
No, if you trade for a guy, preserving the comp pick, you upgrade the pick as well. That's
why, Arif.
That's the logic.
Okay.
If it's for less, like if you get a 4th round pick in 2026, but you traded a 2026 7th for Mike White, because that's all he's going to cost.
Thing? Okay.
I'm into it.
That's your Mike White thoughts, huh?
Yeah, I mean he's fine, but like I don't want to do anything to.
I don't know though. I mean, options are running low here. I guess we don't really have a king's ransom of choices anymore, do we?
Like if you don't want to restrict yourself to this just to preserve a 4th round pick next year, or 5th, or what's probably going to be a 5th round pick next year, like just you can sign anyone and it's fine. You're still keeping the bigger comp pick, the Sam Darnold one, which should be pick 97.
I am famously not out on Jeff Okudah, and the Vikings have signed him now.
Yeah.
They've also signed Rondale Moore. We'll decide if we're in or out on Rondale. That's next. Minnesota Football Party. We're brought to you today by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time, and with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to take your business to the next level. Businesses need flexibility, especially small businesses. And when you connect them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries like IT, AI, web development, marketing, It just gives you extra hands for a project or a long-term partner. Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. So again, if you don't have the budget to hire full-time, you can find expert freelancers with Upwork. If you need help with a marketing campaign, for instance, it's very cool. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. We are also brought to you by Game Time. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, being in a March Madness venue as a Cinderella upset is happening, witnessing that
Game Time
moment. Farley Dickinson knocking off Purdue last year. You want to be there. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time Picks is their curation feature that makes it easy to find great value. Shows you the best deals on seats around the arena or venue. You can buy in just a couple of clicks. Make sure that the all-in price feature's turned on so there's absolutely no hidden fees. You'll find amazing deals on huge matchups coming up. And you'll get the lowest price guarantee, and Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find better seats. So you have peace of mind with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's talk about the most recent acquisition first. Rondale Moore coming to the Vikings from the Arizona Cardinals. We're also getting to Ron Johnson in a moment. He can weigh in on Rondale Moore. As he gets set up, though, my favorite Rondale stat, rookie year, 4th in the league in yards after catch per reception. Second year in the league, he was 2nd in yards after catch per reception. Pretty good.
Cliff.
That's a
come again.
Yeah, that's a
Cliff Kingsbury stat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we could use a little. That's. I mean, yeah. We never haven't had like a yak guy since Percy Harvin.
Hey, I would take that. I mean, I'd take it. Wouldn't be bad. Yeah. He also rushed the ball 28 times in 2023, and I wonder how. And the Vikings have 2 really good running backs now. They don't need to get too gimmicky. I wonder how much KOC would be interested in doing that, whether it's like backfield,
he loves doing
jet
that.
motion.
That's like their most successful red zone runs were like BS like that. So over the past 2 years. So, it wouldn't shock me. Also, do I get to check off upgrade at wide receiver 3? I know Luke Braun won the bingo already. Ooh. We discussed that in our text chats. But
I don't think so.
God.
I don't think Rondale Moore is better than Naylor.
The Jalen Naylor threshold, man. Especially off an injury. That's a good try, though. Ron Johnson, let's ask him, though. Maybe he can settle it for us. Ron, and I think that you have good perspective on this. Would Rondale Moore be an upgrade at wide receiver 3 for the Vikings if he's healthy?
Yes, he would be.
Check it out, baby.
Here's where I say,
how much did you pay him?
So when you look, I haven't watched a ton of Rondale Moore since Purdue, and so that's my caveat there. Like,
freshman year Rondale Moore at Purdue.
Now I get why he says that. Yes.
Rondale Moore was a stud.
Purdue Rondale Moore. When you think about the 500 to 600 pound leg press squat guy, the guy that terrorized Ohio State. He has the ability to be really good in a stretch offense. So you think about what Purdue was back then. You look at the Tyler Johnson, Rashad Bateman years of how the Gophers were spread out. Purdue was spread out, and it was bombs over Baghdad, just pass. I feel like KOC's offense, what Rondale Moore gets. So Jalen Naylor's really good. But what Jalen Naylor doesn't do is what Rondale Moore does, which is in the slot. He has the ability to control the middle of the field with those jitterbug routes. So whether it's the Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua choice route, whether it's the quick slant inside to open up space for Justin Jefferson, if your linebacker overplays Justin Jefferson in the double slant hole, Rondale Moore knows how to not run to open, run into a defender. He knows how to kind of sit, take that quick pass and get upfield like a running back. He knows how to do a jet sweep with efficiency. He also can return kicks. So I think it's a little bit of an upgrade just because Jalen Naylor was fast, but we never really saw what he could do. He never really did much. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this guy is let's look at Jake Reed, as far as to Randy Moss and Chris Carter. There was not that. Like in preseason looked great, like the whole Speedy Naylor, like great, but we never truly saw KOC use them. And I feel like that's maybe the reason why. Like they need this, they wanted Brandon Powell to be this, and he never was. And so I think in their 3 receiver set, they would rather have Addison stretch the field, go deep if he's there, Justin Jefferson control the deep over, and then they need a short route guy. They need a hitch guy. They need a slant
all the
guy.
space when people go back. Yeah.
They need a receiver screen guy. And that's the only reason I say upgrade, because they give you like Jalen Naylor does basically what Jordan Addison does. But Rondale Moore does something different from the other 2 receivers. And that's the only reason I would say. Now, if he's healthy, yes. If he's not, oh my God, we're back to square one.
They should sign
How's that
Tennessee
knee?
Cordero Patterson then, if that
Cordell Patterson like 5 years ago. Yes, they should have.
Yeah.
They should
Or 10. Yeah.
Quick follow-up on this. Has the Vikings activity in free agency opened the door, Ron, for first-round wide receiver pick to add to that room? Because Emeka Egbuka could be there at 24.
Yeah, I think it does. And so when you think about the receivers that could be there, it's a decent amount of guys. And Ohio State receivers the last 5, 6, 7 years have proven to be NFL ready and really, really good. I mean, you can go all the way back. You look at Jackson Smith and Jigba, you got Garrett Wilson, you got
Terry
the other guy
Lawrence, Terry.
you got the other guy from the New Orleans. Who's the New Orleans Saints receiver?
Chris
Olave. So
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas. So they've proven that they produce, whether it's the Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. Like Ryan Day is basically like a rich kid that the parents died. And that's what his job is at Ohio State. Like his parents died, left him a fortune of riches, and he's just there running with having fun with it. And that's why I feel like those receivers, like nothing has really changed. I figured you like that, Arif.
The worst Home Alone movie I've ever heard.
Dark. Home Alone, but dark. Rated
I'm
R.
having the time of my life. My parents are dead.
Exactly.
It's like those JJ Watt commercials, but like real, like Black Mirror style.
Yeah.
But if you think about that Ohio State receiving coaches and that offense, like I do feel like Buka would come in and he would be able to understand KLC's offense, because Ohio State runs a similar like pro style offense. They've done it for years. You go back to Justin Fields, you go back to quarterbacks before that. That's what everybody talked about, is like, oh, like these guys are throwing the ball. They're not just running quarterbacks. And so like I feel like that's what you could get. And I spent like I was debating on not going to the Gophers Pro Day, and I'm glad I did, because it was one of the best days I've ever had. But I was so thrown off. Like my daughter forgot her lunch at school at home. My wife is like, she forgot something. Can I run? And I'm like, no, I got to get to the complex because I got to do Locked On. We got to do the Friday football or the Wednesday football party show. And so anyway, I go there, and Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi, Brian Flores. I mean, I got a chance to, and because there wasn't a lot of Tyler Nubin was there. I got a chance to talk to JC. Was it Eisenhower? How you say his name? JC, the offensive center from East Ridge. Eisenhower. So he was there. Chris Reed was there. And so I was talking to like all those guys, like Tyler New was like, hey man, we gonna get me on the show. And then, Chris Reed brought it up. And then JC, I can't say his name, the center. And then, then Kwesi comes over and we're talking, and he comes up and say, man, appreciate what you did for my wife. That was a great interview, by the way, blah, blah. And so then we start talking free agency, talking about backup quarterbacks. And so when you look at, going there, I'm glad I did, because I got so much information that I can't say some of the stuff. Like I promised I wouldn't.
Say it all.
I can't say it.
Yeah, I can't.
But 30 minutes deep into a live show, nobody will know.
But I'm glad I went, because it gave me insight into because Kwesi, like the funniest thing, I don't know if I can't say all of it.
Who are they going to pick?
You can't tease
He
us
wants
like this,
to so
Rob.
bad.
I know I do, but it's like, but Sam, you remember what happened last time? Like I've learned my lesson with the Vikings. I try not to do that.
I know.
You get in trouble?
So yeah, well, not in trouble. They just like want me to be careful of like when I have access, that other media
I
people
didn't get
don't
in
get.
trouble. They just
Legally,
pulled me
I
aside.
don't divulge.
Don't try
all
to
that
like,
access.
don't try,
Okay.
don't say stuff that
Legally.
they're not sure, they don't know about. And so, because Kwesi was real open and honest, and this is what I will say, looking at quarterback, and he said somebody came up to him like, man, because I said congratulations, and he was like, what for what? And I was like, your son? He's like, oh yeah, okay, because everybody else keeps coming to me talking about congratulations on the free agency, and I was like, no, your son's more important than free agency, man. But I was like, but I did say, I was like,
Stand
Maybe not.
Leads ball.
What a
Leads
king.
ball.
Yeah.
he is. His son's more important than free
Son.
agency.
Yes, of course.
But I was,
Right,
but I was like,
spawn.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
family
Wow.
unit. Got it.
That might be the next
Incredible.
Vikings GM. What 30 years from now? Like that could be the assistant GM to the Vikings in 30 years.
Yeah. The Wilfs kids and Kwesi's kids are
Exactly.
running the show.
And KOC's son would be a quarterback. But when you talk about that, and I got a great KOC. His story about his son was ridiculously funny. But when Kwesi was talking about the free agency and how people are thinking him and all this other stuff, he's like, man, it's not done. He's like, my job is not done. He's like, and he's like, literally was getting text messages and he was trying to figure stuff out while we were standing there. And Sam, I'm glad you brought that up because my point is when they look at their entire roster, they have like green, yellow, red, basically. And let's say green, we're good to go. Yellow, we might be able to add somebody, but red, no, we got to take a full stop and like we got to address this position or we got to. And so I would say receiver for them is still a yellow. Like I think it's still one of those things where they're like, if this guy's here, like let's take like Luke says, go get your guy. And what could like guard? Probably not. D tackle, probably not. Like I talked to Flores for a while about his D lineman now and what, how he's going to play them and how he's going to deploy them. And so all of that, like we talked about Daniil Hunter, it was like, I think I was there from like 9:30, 10 o'clock, whenever we got off the show. I didn't leave till like 1:40.
Did your kids get their lunch or were they waiting that whole time?
No, my wife had to do it. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get to campus. Like I'm normally like I'll do anything.
Yep.
But I'm glad I did that because again, if I had not have done it, I probably would have just stayed home, done the show from home, and be like, man, I'm not going down there.
Kwesi needs to take some notes from you.
And I'm kind of glad I went because now I know the kicking. Like I'm not gonna say which coach because I got a chance to talk to like me and Chuck Pagano talked for like 20 minutes because he was a coach guy. Now he's a Ravens. He's back with the Ravens now. He came out of retirement. We met. He was telling me why. Chuck Pagano's out of retirement now. So after 4 years, he said Harbaugh got him off the couch. He said also his wife got him off the couch because she's like, you got to go. Like I'm sick of you. You go work for somebody. And so he's back with the Ravens as a defensive executive assistant. Basically D coordinator helper. And he was talking about some stuff and then the Steelers defensive backs coach and they were talking and the biggest thing is everybody kind of was like, this might be the longest special teams practice workout ever. Like the two kickers and the punter, oh my God, like it took forever. Everybody it's like the Titanic. Like it's about to sink. Just sink it. And bring on the receivers and the quarterbacks. Like we've seen enough kicks. But I will say, shout out to the Gophers kicker, man. He knocked down a 65-yarder to end his workout, and he got a round of applause from everybody. So
Hell yeah.
I will say for Dragon, Kesich, he had a great one. The other guy was from a different school. I don't know what school he's from, like St. Thomas or something maybe, and he was okay. But Kesich was booming the ball. Like that 65-yarder, I think a lot of scouts kind of like, oh, this could be a late, this guy might be a late round pick if we're deciding on bringing a kicker. And even Kwesi said it too, because I was joking about how boring the kicking was. And Josh McCown was over there too, and we were standing around talking. And we both were like, this is a little long for kickers. And then Kwesi was like, but you know what? It's always nice to have a kicking competition in training camp. So I wouldn't be surprised too if Kesich doesn't get picked up anywhere. I can see the Vikings.
Now you're
going
to get in trouble for sharing that.
Yeah.
Said that.
Yeah.
You scooped.
No trust
priority
Riker.
UDFA.
Yes, everybody.
You're going to get a call from Tom Pelissero. Like that was my territory.
It was on Dan Patrick's show too today. They brought up that you always want to have. Oh, was it the Colts? Whoever just said that, Anthony Richardson, because they just said the same thing. It's like a quarterback competition is actually healthy sometimes for some of these younger guys. And so I think that's the thing about kicker. You have a young kicker.
Yeah.
Why not give him a
the word
little
I would
bit of
use for that
competition during
situation.
camp just to make sure he's on his A game all training camp, knowing he's your starting kicker. But, Will Riker, you can't sit back and just drink lattes all training camp. So, but, who knows? Also, you don't want to waste the kicker's leg either. I mean, you want other guys to kick some of this stuff for some of these periods. You don't want to get your kicker hurt. During,
Honestly, that's the best argument, I think.
First round, Pick 24, kicker. Martin
Dragon Kesich in the first round, 65-yarder.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's the
Buka's
same
on the board. Nope, we're going with Kesich.
It's the same
Braun,
pick
what do you got?
Janikowski got picked at, right? Like
I was going to
20
say, wasn't that the
Janikowski,
Janikowski?
that's right. I thought it was Gramatica. Yeah.
Janikowski was like 400 pounds too, so it's a big deal.
Seabass.
Puts down his natty light before he lines up. Like, what a god.
Braun, what do you got for Ron?
Yeah, so Vikings signed two guys that were not very highly sought after, Okudah, Jeff Okudah and Rondale Moore.
Yep.
Visiting around, kind of all these teams letting him walk.
Mhm.
So my question to you, let's say that Jeff Okudah is on Rondale Moore for a whole game shadowing.
Yep.
What's his stat line?
4 pass interferences. 6 no.
That's part of it. Yeah.
No.
40
No,
PIs,
one hole.
68
Okay, so
yards.
here's some DB speak. Talk to Brian Flores about this. A lot of DB. So Jeff Okudah is one of them. Now we weren't just talking to him though. We were talking other DBs because we were kind of talking about other stuff and staying in phase. And we talked about Ethan Robinson. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw 42-inch vertical.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and
I
he
see that.
he
Blew it up.
measured at almost 6'2"
Yeah.
or 6'1" ish, 6'2", but 42-inch vertical. So he is like, a lot of scouts did the whoa, like, okay, like, could we get him in the 6-7 round? Like, kind of like, what's his name, Benjamin St. Juice.
Mhm.
So, and again, he did his work. But anyway, so going back to what Brian Flores was saying, a lot of corners don't know how to stay in phase. I know, Luke, Braun, you know what that means. Staying in phase just means don't panic. So whatever your technique is, if you're supposed to backpedal and then he eats up that cushion, you're supposed to turn and run, never panic. Stay in phase. Let him run the route and you react to it. And so he said what happens with guys like Jeff Okudah, super successful in college, and then they get to the NFL and they forget that they're going up against the best of the best. And so I truly believe, speaking of the Rondale Moore versus Jeff Okudah, I believe under Brian Flores, he's going to teach him to not panic. Like the pass interferences, the grabbing, the like reaching too soon. He's going to teach him, like, one, here's the timing of how I'm trying to get after these quarterbacks, and two, just stay in phase. Like, it kind of like Xavier Rhodes when Mike Zimmer had to teach him that. Like, some guys just need to learn it. And then once they learn it, they kind of like, and again, we can act like, oh, everybody teach it. Everybody doesn't teach it right. Like, every DB coach doesn't know how to teach that. Like, they know how to say it, but do they know how to teach it? Like telling the receiver, you can't slip out of your break. How though? How can I not slip out of my break, coach? A lot of receivers coaches don't know how to really teach that. And when you think about how that looks and how that works, I think Jeff Okudah versus Rondale Moore beforehand seriously would have been Rondale Moore would probably have 110, 8 catches, 110. I think under Flores, it's going to be more like a 65 yards, 4 catches. Like, I think Jeff Okudah is going to learn to trust his safeties. He's never had a Harrison Smith back there to really be a leader and a captain for him. So I think all of that's going to help him.
Hey, Ron, you got me looking up Rondale Moore, Purdue freshman records. Check this one out. His first game ever at Purdue, 313 all-purpose yards against Northwestern. Also, by the way, Big Ten freshman of the year.
Northwestern had finals that week, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
so.
probably. Big Ten freshman of the year. You got like a favorite, I'm assuming football, could be any sport. You got like a favorite record that always comes to mind that you always think of, like Cal Ripken, Ironman, Brett Favre, Ironman. You got any records that you always think of that come to mind as some of your favorites, I guess?
No, not really. I mean,
okay, let me
so
ask you
honestly,
this.
like when I was in college, I had the NCAA record for a catch in 46 straight games. So for me at that time, that was kind of cool because I think the guy that had it before me had like 45. Now they play way more games now. But back then we only played 11 games. And so 44 was every single game plus the 2 bowl games. And so to be able to have a catch in every single game I played in, that one for me, like that, I always looked at longevity for guys that, and there's been guys that have tied my record now and, stuff like that. But that was always think about the longevity of the other one though. The craziest still for me is, what's his name? Who's the running back? Eric Dickerson. Like that one for me always, and mainly because like being with the Ravens, Jamal, that was the first like record I kind of remember playing under, like, because I remember Jamal Lewis was almost there, and then Eric Dickerson showed up to our game and blah blah, and in hopes that he wouldn't break the record. That one for me is nuts when you go back and watch. And then also OJ, when you look at OJ and Eric Dickerson's like how they did it, it was just consistency and because people always try to say like, well, what about this and how many games? But like the number of games and to have those yards, that for me always stands, because running back is hard, man. Like it's a brutal, like you just get beat up. Nobody really loves you. The Giants want to get rid of you. Like it's just all kinds of stuff with running backs. I always applaud that with Eric Dickerson.
Anybody ever going to beat Brett Favre's Iron Man 297 straight games? I mean, you played the game. How tough is that? How insane really is that stat?
It's tough. And in today's football too, guys are willing to rest. Like, it's back then it was like, you have to play. I don't care if your toe is like Ronnie Lott, cut your pinky off. Like you're going to play. Now guys are like, man, Twitter told me not to play. So I'm good. I'm going to sit out this week. Like,
I tweaked it. I tweaked something. I don't know what.
I don't say that word.
Blaming the load management software on tweets for sure.
Hey, I'm just saying. The Department of Government Efficiency, they're going to help the players out with this. Cut back on your inefficient time at the facility.
We had someone in chat ask a question that I thought was good enough to actually ask. So why would they bring in Charlie Fry well, first of all, why bring in Charlie Fry at all? But second,
there's a report about that.
Why would they bring him in as a defensive assistant?
So, okay, because he was a quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm. 6 years.
Yeah, there was a report about that it was about pre-snap motion. It was about getting reactions to pre-snap motion, and they wanted to teach the defensive players. Yeah.
So if you think about like coaches that have, because I always thought about that too, like defensive guys should be defensive guys always. It's not actually true. Like Tony Dungy was a quarterback, and then he went to the NFL and was a QB, or DB. But then in the NFL, like he was mainly like a defensive coach, but did help out on offense. So I just think it's about the knowledge. Like JJ McCarthy, I don't know if you guys saw Cam Bynum on Good Morning Football. He was saying how JJ McCarthy was sitting in on defensive meetings while he was hurt, trying to learn as much as he can about Brian Flores' defense and what is he trying to attack? What's the weak spots in that defense? Because, I'm pretty sure in the defensive meeting, Flores is letting the guys know, hey, man, this is the coverage. This is where we're weak. This is where our vulnerabilities are. Like you got to know where the openings in the armor are. And so you have to tell your guys, like, you can't act like, oh man, we're impenetrable. Like this is the best defense ever. No, like here's where we're weak at. If this doesn't happen, this is like, we're screwed. And JJ McCarthy set in on those to kind of learn from that side. So I think it's more of that. I think it's having an offensive mind, get with the defensive guys, and then be able to like coach from that side of it. Because when you're an executive assistant, like Chuck Pagano with the Ravens now, you just do everything. Like, and honestly, like when you're in that role, you get asked by every coach, by everybody. Like you sit in the meetings with all the, each position that needs you. Because when I was there, it was Tom Moore and Howard Mudd with the Colts. And even though they both were just offensive guys, you still would see Howard Mudd talking to the defensive lineman and being like, hey, this is what we're thinking if you do this. And this is what we're thinking if you do that, trying to give them some edge and thought. Because, when I was talking to Brian Flores about Jonathan Allen and Hargrave, and he was like, man, we got some guys up there. Like, and he was saying how being able to put both of them in a 2-eye and a 3, and then also have Harrison Phillips with that group. And potentially, and so here's the thing too, Sam, about this. So Brian Flores did say this. I asked him about a guy, and he's like, man, I'm thinking about going to this guy's pro day, but I don't want to do it because if I go, then they know I want him, and I don't want other teams knowing I want him. So, you know what I mean, Sam? Like, it's literally a game. I even asked Quasey about the game draft day movie because, that's my movie. And I'm like, do y'all really be like texting each other and calling each other, like asking
over
questions
pancakes?
And setting each other? And he said, yeah, he said legit. He said, like, especially when guys don't get drafted where they think, like he said, man, guys all start texting each other, like, and seeing who's willing to give up the info or who's holding on to it.
What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him?
Exactly. Yeah. And so there is a player that Flores likes in the D tackle spot. If he's there, they're going to take him potentially, but he doesn't want people to know he likes the guy. And so that's
so look for Brian
if he's
Flores
there
to
where
look
at 24 or just in the draft?
Just in the draft. Like, so in the first round, there's options that they could do to try to get a guy. That's why I would like Sam, like receiver could be there, D tackle could be there, corner could be there. But he was just talking about the 3 guys first that he has, and he was just saying how he can deploy them now because of how Jonathan Allen plays, because of how long he is. Kwesi was saying the same thing, like he loves Jonathan Allen. We joked about the whole meme where he was happy for the first day of the game, and then like by week 7 he was pissed off and did that interview about I'm sick of this, blah blah. And they were like, man, I remember that game because this is what happened in the Washington Commanders were doing XYZ. And so they were like, man, we love the passion in that because a lot of guys lose and don't care. They're like, I'm getting paid. I don't care. Like, I'm making millions of dollars. Who cares if we just lost, at the end of a game? But he cares. Like, he still cares at this late stage in his career. And so that's why I say, like, when you think about and I totally, like, I know I went all over the place with this, but
You? No.
What?
when you think about what could happen with like who they could pick there, what Brian Flores can do with these guys, man, like his strategy is like, I was listening to him talk to the Steelers DB coach, and it's crazy like how much not because that's his boy, and that how much knowledge he puts into defense. Like, which watch out, he just signed up to coach his son's flag football team. So I feel bad for the suburban teams.
Wow. B-Flow did?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's gonna be the coach this year. Because we were, like, he was asking me because a lot of people had heard like, I saw your Instagram when you talked about the parents like followed you to the car where your daughter scored 24 points. Blah blah. I was like, yeah, man, it's crazy. And so then Flo was like, yeah, man, I'm coaching.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
I'm coaching. Yeah. I got followed to the car. Like my daughter scored 24 points, and the other team's grandparents followed me to my car saying that I was showing favoritism to my daughter. It was unsportsmanlike to let her score that many points. I'm like, what? Like, when does this ever happen?
Sportsmanlike to allow her to score that many points.
Yeah, because
she's about that.
Well, what's the cap? Why don't you?
Here's the craziest. I called a time.
Maybe
This
they should
fourth grade
stop her.
basketball, which is not normal to do in fourth grade basketball, but with 5 seconds left, I called a timeout. Into the game, 24-24. She had scored 22 of the 24 points. Called a timeout. I drew up a play.
Sounds like the other team's problem.
I drew up a play, basically saying, roll the ball up the court. And I told the girl, I told my daughter, I was like, don't touch it until the girl runs up on you to guard you at half court. I'm like, she's not going to guard you full court because she was slower than her.
Right.
I was like, just watch the ball roll slow. I was like, the minute you see her walk up, grab it and go. She actually does it, takes 5 dribbles, knocks down a jumper. We win the game.
Yeah.
Pandemonium in the gym. All the girls are going
That
crazy.
rules.
Parents were mad at me. The parents from the other
We're
team
teaching them the rules of how the
were
clock
mad at me.
works.
From the
When I called the timeout, I heard somebody, because it's quiet in the fourth grade basketball gym. One of the parents were like, really? Timeout? Like with 2 seconds left? And I was like, well, actually,
It's a tie
5.
game.
Say,
Yeah,
hold
what
on,
do we
5
exactly.
seconds. That's important.
I was like, actually, it's 5 seconds. Because I went to the ref and I was like, hey, man, I called a timeout with 5 seconds. And this mom, because the mom of the visiting school
Change the clock.
runs the clock. So I was like, hey, she kept the clock going. I was like, it's 5 seconds.
You got a home clock.
So
Yeah. You got a bias clock.
Definitely was home clock. Oh, man. It was when we
And
were
then a
up
20
by
just
6,
fell out of your pocket.
When we were
too.
up by
Like,
6, they were stopping the clock for when they weren't supposed to. I mean, it was such a home. They were trying to come back in the game. Well, yeah, we ended up winning. But I was telling Flo about that story, how I almost quit and blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, man, parents don't bother me. I was like, yeah, because you know football. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're scared of you. And they're not going to coach you. Say, how come my son didn't get the ball more in flag football this week?
Really? With 2 seconds?
Like, I know parents can get aggressive.
I want to watch
I know
all 22
parents can
of
get
this.
aggressive, like protective of their kids, but I don't know how many of them have the courage to confront Brian Flores.
Yeah. Yeah.
be
There'll be
surprised.
somebody. There'll be somebody.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he said he's taking on the head coaching job for 5th and 6th grade flag football this year. So
when he starts
it's like a
talking to him
spring
like
league.
Tua, it might cause ruffle some feathers.
Wow.
Ron, that started with Charlie Fry.
But Charlie Fry, back to the Charlie Fry. Bottom line is
we don't got to go back. We're good.
he's gonna be able to help B-Flow
It
out.
ended in a good place.
He's helping B-Flow out.
It ended in a good place.
Yeah.
No, that
Teaching
was
the
excellent.
players pre-snap motion intricacies so that they
Correct.
can get better at that stuff. Yeah, that
And-
was like the
and-
reported point of that.
But remember the game I focused on, Sam, with the Rams. And Luke, you probably saw the film because I think you talked about it too. When they try to have Jonathan Gilmore follow the motion, and then instead of him staying with Tyler Johnson, he runs back to play safety, and then Tutu Atwell kills him.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that, like them trying to figure out, like, hey, if Tyler Johnson motions, you're probably fast enough to just stay with Tyler Johnson. Like don't overthink the play. Like let what's his name? Who was the other? Shaq Griffin. Let Shaq Griffin stay back. You don't need to tell him to run up and guard Tyler and you try to go play safety because you're confusing yourself. And so I think that's part of it too, is Flo has so much stuff they can do for Charlie Frye to be able to say, hey, these are the times you probably want to just check out of it. Like if this guy does this and this guy does it, because the Rams and a lot of teams now do that double motion crap, and then they do double shift, and then motion back. Just check out of it, go to this. Like this is what, Norman, because Peyton Manning, honestly, I can say it now because he doesn't play anymore. A lot of the motions were just to get teams to go back to cover 2. Like, because everybody does this whenever it's too many motions, and they're just saying, man, go back to base 2, because it's a simple defense to run and you got everything covered. And now you got what you want, which is basically double corner routes and then some type of middle of the field thing, and or run the tight end up the middle of the seam and make the safeties get wide. So that's part of it too, is like, hey, how do we make sure we don't end up in what they want us in? So yeah, I think Charlie Frye is just another voice, and he'll be in the offense. I guarantee he's going to be in there with JJ McCarthy too, though. He's not going to just be on the defensive side. I think he's going to be helping everybody out if that happens.
Good stuff, Ron. He's at 3 Ron Johnson on X. Dropped a lot of Easter eggs in this appearance. You got to go back and kind of Severance style. You got to watch it frame by frame, listen to it word by word. I know you're watching the finale tonight, Ron. I will be as well.
Did you guys get your picks in?
Got my picks in. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
We're underway as we speak, as we are live.
I know. Yep. I'm already worried because I listen to Dan Patrick and some of the back row boys and who they picked, and I'm like, damn. I
got a play-in winning round 1, so I'm riding it.
Well, I got 2 of those.
Is it UNC? Because they're favored.
I got Xavier winning.
No. I have Xavier. Oh. Yeah.
I have UNC, but I thought it was going to be San Diego State.
I thought,
but I'm on UNC now.
Exactly. I was pretty close to that too, but I just thought karmically I couldn't let UNC win. I
got UNC because they look good, but also Xavier looked really good last night.
Yeah, they did.
They were on Texas's head after that second half started.
Yeah, that was a good game. Enjoyed the madness, Ron, and of course we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.
Quick pause. We'll return with a little bit on the introductory pressers and our own bracket challenge that's coming up next.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
I've seen the Bracket Breakdown show, by the way. Wonderful, wonderful content there. Amazon and Locked On teaming up to get that done. All right, introductory pressers yesterday. The 3 defensive guys, Isaiah Rodgers, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, all spoke. Anything pop out to you guys, whether you watched it or whether you saw any quotes on Twitter? I didn't think it was tremendously insightful, but you do hear a lot of, hey, I came here because of the culture. I came here because of the NFLPA grades and what they've created here. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to know that, like,
interesting to see it directly cited.
Yeah,
like, I came here because I have a wife and a kid, and I hear they treat them well. It's like just directly
A+ on family.
Yeah. Which, hey, doesn't cost anything on the cap to do that. It's just about how willing your owner is to spend. Looking at you, Mike Braun, unserious person.
Also, the Bidwells. What the heck?
Yeah. What
you just had Mike Brown doesn't have the Bidwells have money. Like, what do you? Okay.
Mike Brown is worth $4 billion. I'm not letting him get away with this. Pay Trey Hendrickson, you idiot.
The net worth thing. He doesn't have cash. I'm not sympathetic to him. I'm just like, I get it. You shouldn't own a team. Anyway.
I know of a thing he should maybe liquidate. Yeah.
Yeah, the team.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I didn't pay too much attention to the pressers because I didn't expect anything to pop out. But the thing that really grabbed my eye were the NFLPA grades, because we've been kind of speculating a little bit about how important those grades might be when it comes to stuff like attracting free agents and stuff like that. We've seen a little bit of reference to that from previous free agents, but seeing a direct citation of that specifically, I think rules, because it gives players, first of all, it's good for the Vikings. It's always fun. Second, it forces teams to treat their players better, which is great. But third, I think that it kind of validates a lot of what we know about free agents, but we don't really talk about, because we talk all the time about free agents turning down money to find a team with a winning culture, which, like, yeah, that obviously played a role for the Vikings. But, like, there are a million factors that go into a free agent playing for or against or whatever for a team, right? And, the most that we get out of these niche factors, I think, was when a lot of people talked about income tax, like 6 years ago. Like, that mattered, like the 8 games of income tax that you got. But no, it's all of these other factors that influence players, and we should pay attention to them when we talk about these free agency decisions, about how maybe that could be a reason the Vikings are better at attracting older free agents, because players are finding out that stuff really matters a lot, or, any of these other things. I mean, the Vikings facility is always cited. Always. Every single time there's a star free agent, they're like, yeah, I visited the facility. It's the best facility I've ever seen. Holy crap. That's always cited, and it seems to be a genuine draw. And so I think this gives us a little bit more texture for how we talk about, these decisions.
Yeah, it does have some substance. It does move the needle, especially guys who have been in one spot their whole career, and it was a dumpy spot. It was a spot in the bottom 5 in a lot of those gradings as well.
Patrick Peterson.
PP.
He was like,
yes,
what in the world?
Yes.
The owners
From
are
Arizona?
intervening to send me hate mail. That's crazy.
There is a 7-foot tall dude for Creighton who's just draining threes.
Yeah, it's ruining my night. Thanks, Sam.
What is happening?
We're all watching, right? That's
Yeah.
we're all watching while we're live.
100%.
Yeah.
That's
All right,
probably
cool.
why I was repeating myself at the end of my answer.
Let's play into the bracket mania a little bit. Little money line challenge using FanDuel money lines. Let's snake draft. I want 5 money lines. It's an automatic $100 mythical money on each. Snake draft 5 money lines. We'll see.
Are
who
there any
comes
like
out on top.
limitations, or can we put them all in like minus 3,000 teams?
No limitations.
You can, but that wouldn't make a lot of money.
No limitations. Yeah, that's a strategy.
Yeah, you
That's
get your
one way
money
to do
back,
it.
and then all of you losers lose all your money. I get it. Yeah.
There are 2 active games you can't put it on. Obviously, the Louisville Creighton or High Point Purdue. The other 30 are fair game. Let's start with let's just go start clockwise, Braun, and then we'll snake it. I'll do the turnaround.
I will take. Let me consult the bracket where I actually did all my thinking. Trying to find a good upset that I'm looking for. I will take Montana over Wisconsin.
Oh, that's a good.
Okay, that's plus 1,100. Please consult FanDuel and give me the money line number as well.
Yeah, I can't find it.
I'm guessing it's plus
But there's
1,100 is
no
what I had. But
Yeah, I looked at all of these right before the show, and so that's the line I'm using when I give it to you.
okay. Arif, go ahead.
It's plus 1160 now, by the way, Montana.
Plus 1160. Thank you.
I'm taking UC San Diego, which was plus 116 when I checked.
116 or 60?
Well, now it's plus 118.
Okay, 118. Inman.
Yeah.
Give me Colorado State minus 122.
Yeah. A minus as a 12 seed. Crazy.
Yeah.
I will take Yale plus 260.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit a lot of threes on the
good one.
turnaround. I'm gonna take Richard Pitino, New Mexico, at what I saw was plus 146. Anybody, if anybody wants to correct me on that, I can double check.
Plus
as well.
140 now.
Plus 140. Thank you, Inman.
I'm going to go the other. I'm going to take Michigan. Somebody take San Diego, right? Arif?
Yeah.
Can I take Michigan?
Yeah.
Minus 142?
Do it.
Yep.
Arif.
I'll take VCU, which when I checked was plus 110. Where are we now? We are at plus 112.
Okay. Braun, 2 picks.
I'll do Yale.
I took
Already
Yale.
picked.
Oh, you took Yale.
No duplicates.
Oh, missed
That's
that.
why we're drafting. If we had duplicates, we wouldn't need to draft.
Yeah. Then I will grab. Oh, somebody just took VCU, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody took anybody from McNeese Clemson, right?
Nope.
No.
I didn't like that. All right, I'll take Houston minus 100,000.
Love it.
Five zeros.
Love it.
Yeah,
5 zeros.
5 zeros. Over
Yeah.
SIU Edwardsville.
And then I think you pick another.
Watch it lose.
I don't like how
Jesus
you
Christ.
said Edwardsville there, man.
I cursed him now.
Yeah.
You got to pick two, Braun.
I got to pick two. You just took Colorado State. I'll take Memphis. I don't even have that in my bracket, but I'll just take a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is it?
Plus
102.
Okay.
I'm scrolling frantically to try to find it.
I would
You're next to
advise
the vacancy.
Control
Yeah,
F.
just-
Control F. Search the name of the team. That's kind
That's
of the
your
method
go-to.
I would recommend. Arif.
I'm taking Ole Miss plus 100.
Pick them.
Mm.
Inman.
Give me. Where'd it go? Give me Xavier plus 126. Somebody take Xavier?
Nope.
Plus 126 over Illinois, 11 seed over the 6.
I'm going to go Utah State at plus 180, and I'm going to slip one in on Nebraska Omaha at plus 1280. Back to Inman.
All right, let me go chalk here. Where is Tennessee minus 4,000?
Heavy favorite, Arif.
And then I'm going to go Texas Tech minus 1,700.
Braun, your final two.
It'll be Liberty plus 240.
Liberty,
Like that.
Liberty.
Thanks.
And I'll do Iowa State minus 1,600. Nice safe one over Lipscomb.
All right, Arif, your final pick.
Man. Want to do a safe-ish pick, but with better odds than Braun. I'll do Kentucky minus 650.
Inman.
St. John's minus 4,000.
There's Rick Pitino's team. And then to close, I'm just going to take a whopper of a money line. Let's take, just to get on the board. Actually, no, you know what? I won't even go that far. I love Maryland. Maryland minus 630 against High Canyon?
Grand Canyon.
Grand
Canyon.
Canyon. I was combining High Point and Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I believe
High Point on right now
Holland's
against
daughter
Purdue.
attends Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Good institution. So Braun, Montana, Houston, Memphis, Liberty, Iowa State, Arif, UC San Diego, VCU, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Kentucky, Inman, Colorado State with the future Gophers coach, Michigan, Xavier, Tennessee, St. John's. I've got Yale, New Mexico, Utah State, UNO, and Maryland. Those are the 5. Those are the money lines. Thank you, FanDuel, FanDuel.com. We'll be back on Monday to talk more Minnesota Vikings football. We do this every Monday and Thursday. Find our audio, the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. We appreciate Ron Johnson coming on. And check out Locked On Vikings. Check out Wide Left. Check out the postcasts with Luke Inman after every Wolves game, headed into the postseason soon. And I'm Sam Ekstrom. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and subscribing to the Minnesota Football Party.